Hello, English learners. Welcome back to another lesson here at English Pod. My name is Marco.
And my name is Catherine. Hello, everyone. Today, Marco, what are we talking about?
Well, today we are not really in the best mood.
I know what you mean.
We're kind of sad. We're kind of nervous. We're not feeling very well. Yeah, it's a cloudy day. Maybe that's why.
The blues.
The blues. So that's what we're talking about today. We're going to have a lot of different descriptive words to express maybe feeling sad, or maybe you're angry, or you're nervous, or something like that.
Okay, well, this is a very useful lesson. Hopefully you're not feeling this way, but if you have to talk about someone who is, we've got lots of words for you. But first, we're going to preview a couple in today's
vocabulary preview.
All right, so today on vocabulary preview, we're going to look at two words. And the first
preview?
one is a way of saying that you feel sad. So basically, I'm feeling...
Okay, down. You might have heard this before because it's the opposite of the word up.
Exactly.
So you're not feeling up, happy, looking up. You're feeling down. This is another word for sad, like Marco said.
Or you can also say, I'm
a bit down today. Or you look really down. Are you okay?
Yeah, so you look sad. Is everything okay? So down. So now another feeling or a way that a person is feeling, maybe that person is grouchy.
Would you please stop talking so loud, Marco?
I think...
I'm seriously.
Don't be grouchy, Catherine. Jeez.
No, so grouchy is a way someone acts, usually when they're in a bad mood.
Right. So it's not like really angry. You're not angry, but you're not very happy either.
And you're not very nice to people. So there's a very famous TV character called Oscar the Grouch on Sesame Street. Look for him on YouTube or Yoku. And he's very, very good for learning about this feeling, grouchy, because he's a grouchy guy.
Yeah, he's always angry or never happy, basically.
Right, he's always complaining about something. So that word again is grouchy.
All right, so after taking a look at these two words, we're ready now to listen to our dialogue for the first time. Let's see what this dialogue is about, if maybe they're grouchy or maybe just sad.
Fine.
I'll talk to you later. Bye.
Carrie, are you okay? You seem a bit down.
I just got off the phone with my boyfriend. He's always getting upset and losing his temper over nothing. It's so hard to talk to him at times.
Maybe it's just that he's stressed out from working. He does have a pretty nerve-wracking job, you know.
Yeah, but he's always in a really foul mood. I tried to find out what's bothering him or get him to talk about his day, but he always shuts down and brushes me off.
Men are like that, you know. They can feel nervous, anxious, or on edge, and the only way they can express it is by trying to hide it through aggressiveness.
I guess you're right. What do you think I should do? He wasn't always this grouchy.
Talk to him, try to cheer him up when he's down, and if that doesn't work, I say get rid of him and get a new one.
You are something else, you know that.
All right, so two girls talking about guys. I guess guys have a bad temper sometimes, right?
I think anyone can have a bad temper, but we're talking today about one of the boyfriend of one of these girls who has a very bad temper and has been very grouchy recently.
And that's why she's feeling a bit down. So let's take a look at those words now in Language Takeaway.
Language takeaway.
All right, so in today's language takeaway, we've got some wonderful words for you, words that are very good for describing stress or having anxiety. And the first of these words is something you hear all the time, especially with young people.
Right. Somebody is stressed out.
Oh my gosh, Marco, I'm so stressed out. I have 10 homework assignments to do and softball practice, and my mom wants me to help cook dinner tonight.
Wow, you really are stressed out.
I am. Well, I don't have any homework, and I don't live with my mom. But being stressed out is usually something you feel when you have too much stuff to do.
So maybe you can be stressed out because of school, like in your case, or maybe at work you have a lot of things to do or a project to finish, right?
Exactly. And I just want to point out here that you can say I'm stressed or I'm feeling stressed, but commonly in spoken English, so when you're talking to your friends, you hear this much more often.
Stressed out. He's really stressed out lately. All right. So we're stressed out, or another word that kind of means the same. This is
nerve-wracking. So nerves are those things in our body that help us feel things, right? And so something that racks our nerves makes us very, very tense, very anxious, very uncomfortable.
Okay, so it makes you very nervous.
Right. So there are some movies that are nerve-wracking. For example, suspense movies like Hitchcock's movies like Psycho or the birds.
Or like horror, maybe saw.
Nerve-wracking. Also, some people think that roller coasters are nerve-wracking. They're very, very anxious when they ride roller coasters.
Right. So let's listen to a couple of more examples of in different situations where we can use this phrase nerve-wracking.
Example 1.
I think being a doctor is one of the most nerve-wracking jobs in the world.
Example 2.
Skydiving was one of the most nerve-wracking experiences of my life. I almost had a heart attack.
Example 3.
The final match between Brazil and Italy was incredibly nerve-wracking.
And there's another way to describe this feeling. Again, it's a little bit different, but very, very similar. We can say someone is feeling on edge.
On edge. So this person was feeling on edge, but what does that mean exactly? You're like at the edge?
Why do you have to ask so many questions? Listen, this is basic. Okay, Marco? Are you mocking me?
On edge today.
All right.
Wow.
So someone who is on edge is easily angered, right? So it's very easy to make this person upset or angry. Someone who just quit smoking might be on edge. That means it's very easy to get them to be upset.
Wow. So yeah, you are on edge, right?
Exactly. He's on edge, or he seems on edge, doesn't he?
Very good. Wow, these 3 words that we've just looked at are really interesting and very, very useful. I guess you can describe many different situations or a person that's going through these feelings, right?
Absolutely. I think there is 1,000 ways to describe being nervous or anxious or upset. So maybe we should take another listen to today's dialogue and figure out how exactly we use these words. And when we come back, we'll be talking about some other phrases that are useful.
I'll talk to you later. Bye.
Carrie, are you okay? You seem a bit down.
I just got off the phone with my boyfriend. He's always getting upset and losing his temper over nothing. It's so hard to talk to him at times.
Maybe it's just that he's stressed out from working or something. He does have a pretty nerve-wracking job, you know.
Yeah, but he's always in a really foul mood. I tried to find out what's bothering him or get him to talk about his day, but he always shuts down and brushes me off.
Men are like that, you know. They can feel nervous, anxious, or on edge, and the only way they can express it is by trying to hide it through aggressiveness.
I guess you're right. What do you think I should do? He wasn't always this grouchy.
Talk to him, try to cheer him up when he's down, and if that doesn't work, I say get rid of him and get a new one.
You are something else, you know that.
All right, great. So now that we're back, we can start with a couple of different phrases now on Fluency Builder.
Fluency Builder.
All right, so Marco, here's the big question. What makes you lose your temper?
I think what makes me lose my temper very, very easily is a dirty house or like a dirty room.
Really? You're a neat freak.
Not really neat freak, but if it's not at least semi-clean, it really bothers me.
Okay, so this great phrase, lose your temper or lose one's temper, is a phrase we use in English to describe getting angry. All right, so maybe you're okay, you're a little frustrated with something, but someone does something like throws all of their clothes on the floor. And Marco here says, oh, that's it. I'm tired of this. You're always throwing your clothes on the floor. And that's an example of Marco losing his temper.
What about you? What makes you lose your temper?
You hear this?
What is that? Oh, drilling? Construction?
When people tap, 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 or when they stomp their feet, or
like when they're nervous.
When they make noise. So slowly it's like, okay, fine, calm down. It's okay. No, seriously, stop it. Seriously. And then all of a sudden, I just can't stand it anymore.
You explode.
Exactly.
So that's what makes you lose your temper. I'll be sure to keep my eye out for that and not tap my pen.
Don't.
All right. All right. So, okay, you lose your temper. And now there are situations sometimes where you need to brush someone off.
All right. Or when you get brushed off, and that's not very good feeling. But this phrase, to brush someone off, you've heard the word brush before. It's the word that we use to brush your hair or brush your teeth. Exactly. When you brush someone off, it's like saying that you're ignoring them. Yeah.
So you ignore them, or you basically tell them to go away very subtly sometimes or very directly.
Exactly. And so to brush someone off is to avoid their company. And so a lot of times when people are angry, they like to be alone. So they brush you off. So I could say, hey, did you want to go see that movie tonight?
No, I can't. I have to do something tonight.
And then Marco walks away while we're talking. He's brushing me off. He's ignoring me.
Yeah. So it happens. And also maybe some people can make up excuses, and that's also brushing someone off, right?
Right, exactly. So to brush someone off, or he brushed me off, doesn't feel good.
All right. And well, all of these bad feelings, brushing somebody off, maybe you feel stressed out. In the end, you always need a good friend to cheer you up, right? And that's what this dialogue is all about.
Exactly. And so friends are actually the people that do that the best, or family, I think. And well, we can break this phrase down because most of it's pretty clear, but cheer might be a new word for some of our listeners.
Yeah, maybe we've heard of the term cheerleader, like give me an A, give me a B. So cheer, or people
cheers.
cheering, or cheers when the
Clink,
beer.
clink. So cheer is like happiness. So someone who can cheer you up is someone who makes you happy. Remember
again.
that down we had earlier? I'm feeling down. We're trying to cheer someone up. We're trying to make them go up and be happy.
Exactly. So you want to cheer up your friends, or maybe if you're feeling a bit down, a family member will try and cheer you up.
Do you need someone to cheer you up, Marco?
Yes, I
Yeah.
do.
Well, let's go have a drink and eat some popcorn and be cheered up.
That's what cheers me up. Or chocolate always cheers me up.
Oh, I know where there's some of that.
All right, so we've taken a look at a lot of great phrases, but the last sentence of the dialogue is maybe a little bit strange, right? When she says, "You are something else." That
Something what? Like
is she an
monkey?
alien? Is she a monkey? What does she mean when she says, "You are something else"?
That's a great question. Well, this might be a little bit hard to understand at first, but she's saying, I can't believe you. She's like, there's no one like you. You're really something else. You know that? So it's kind of like a joke, but what she's saying is, I can't believe you. You just want to go on and encourage me to find another boy. You're unbelievable.
So it could be, is it on a positive note, or can it be both positive and negative?
Well, here we've got two friends who are using it, so it's a positive note, but she's kind of making fun of her, saying, well, I can't believe you. But it can be
Negative.
It can
if
be more
you're
negative.
Fighting with her boyfriend, and her boyfriend cheats on her, and she's like, "Oh, you're really something else.
You are something else. There's no comparison. You're the worst.
Exactly.
So yeah, it really depends on how this is used and what the tone of voice is, so how someone says it. But in this case, I think it's kind of a joke, but it's a positive
Right.
meaning.
Very interesting. It's very spoken English, as you say, because all the words that we see there, they're pretty simple, but the context or the connotation, the meaning is very, very different from the actual words, right?
Exactly.
All right. So let's listen to this dialogue
Vocabulary
for the
preview.
last time, and then we'll come back and talk a little bit more.
I'll talk to you later. Bye.
Carrie, are you okay? You seem a bit down.
I just got off the phone with my boyfriend. He's always getting upset and losing his temper over nothing. It's so hard to talk to him at times.
Maybe it's just that he's stressed out from working or something. He does have a pretty nerve-wracking job, you know.
Yeah, but he's always in a really foul mood. I tried to find out what's bothering him or get him to talk about his day, but he always shuts down and brushes me off.
Men are like that, you know. They can feel nervous, anxious, or on edge, and the only way they can express it is by trying to hide it through aggressiveness.
I guess you're right. What do you think I should do? He wasn't always this grouchy.
Talk to him, try to cheer him up when he's down, and if that doesn't work, I say get rid of him and get a new one.
You are something else, you know that.
So, Catherine, are you a grouchy person? Are you happy?
Second paragraph in the dialogue.
All right, so today we're going to be looking at some really useful English vocab and phrases.
Okay.
And they're all about expressing emotions.
Oh, cool.
Like all those, how do you really get across how you feel?
Right. Yeah.
And so we're going to be looking at a English Pod 101 lesson. It's 27.mp3.
Okay.
And it's got a really interesting dialogue about relationships and like how even if you change your tone of voice just a tiny bit,
Right.
it can completely change what you mean.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Right. So let's kind of jump in.
Okay.
So imagine you're talking to your friend and she's feeling kind of down because her boyfriend, he's got a bit of a temper.
Oh.
And they've been arguing a lot.
Right.
And she's just, not feeling great about it.
Yeah, I can see that.
So that word down,
Yeah,
it's just a simple word.
it is.
But it really gets across that feeling of sadness.
Yeah, that kind of low feeling.
Yeah, like I'm feeling a bit down today, or you seem down, what's going on?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And it's interesting because it's like the opposite of up, you know?
Oh, right. Yeah.
Like if you're feeling upbeat
a beat. Yeah.
or cheerful, then you're up. But when you're down, it's like everything's just
Down in the dumps.
Yeah, you're down in the dumps.
Yeah.
It's like your mood and your energy have just kind of sunk.
Totally. And speaking of expressing those, not so happy feelings, the dialogue also uses the word grouchy.
Oh, grouchy.
Yeah, like I always think of Oscar the Grouch.
Oh, from Sesame Street.
Yeah.
Yes, perfect example. He's like the definition of grouchy, He's grumpy, irritable, just not a very pleasant person to be around.
No, not at all. And being grouchy can definitely
Other example.
Yeah.
cause problems in a relationship, especially if someone's,
Yeah.
always losing their temper, which is another phrase that they
Oh,
love.
right, lose your temper.
Yeah.
So that means to just suddenly get really angry,
Mhm.
often in a way that's kind of uncontrolled.
Right.
Like, you might yell slam doors, say things you regret later.
Yeah, it's like that feeling of letting your anger just take over.
Exactly.
And in the dialogue, the boyfriend is losing his temper over like the smallest things.
Oh, really?
Like a messy room.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So that must be frustrating for the other person.
Oh, totally. It's like you're always walking on eggshells.
Right. You never know what's going to set them off.
Exactly. And sometimes when someone's, constantly losing their temper,
Yeah.
it can lead to another really frustrating behavior,
What's that?
which is brushing someone off.
Oh, brushing someone off.
Yeah.
So that's like when you just dismiss or ignore someone,
Right.
often quite abruptly or rudely.
Yeah.
Like you might end a conversation really quickly
Mm-hmm.
or pretend to be busy when they're trying to talk to you.
Right. And in the dialogue, the boyfriend brushes off his girlfriend when she tries to talk about his day.
So he's not really interested in listening to her.
No, and just makes her feel even worse.
Right, like all of her attempts at connecting are just being rejected.
Exactly.
Okay.
But luckily, she has a really supportive friend
Oh, good.
who tries to cheer her up.
Ah, cheer up. That's a nice expression.
Yeah.
It's a classic way to encourage someone when they're feeling down.
Right.
It basically means to try to make them feel happier
Mm-hmm.
or less sad.
Yeah, like maybe suggesting doing something fun together,
Yeah,
or telling a joke,
right.
or just offering a listening ear.
Yeah, sometimes just knowing that someone cares can really make a difference.
Definitely. Now, this next phrase is a bit of a tricky one.
Oh, okay.
It's, you're something else.
Here's something else.
Yes. And it's interesting because it can be positive or negative,
Oh, really?
depending on how you say it and the situation.
Wow, it's like a chameleon.
Totally.
Yeah.
So in the English Pod 101 dialogue,
Yeah.
the friend uses it in kind of a playful way, almost with a sense of disbelief.
Uh-huh.
But, imagine if someone like cuts you off in traffic
Right.
and you mutter, "You're something else," under your breath.
Yeah.
Definitely not a compliment then.
Not at all.
Right. So tone of voice and context are everything.
Oh, they are.
You have to pay attention to the speaker's facial expressions,
Yeah.
their body language, the whole
Mhm.
situation,
Right.
to figure out what they really mean.
You have to be a detective.
Yeah, it's like a linguistic puzzle.
I like that.
But once you figure it out,
Yeah.
it just adds so much depth to your understanding of how people really talk in English.
It does. It's fascinating.
It is. So we've looked at some pretty powerful words and phrases
Yeah.
for expressing emotions.
We have.
So I think it's time to move on to
Yeah.
some more examples from the dialogue
Okay, sounds good.
that can help you paint an even more vivid picture
All right, I'm ready.
of how you're feeling.
Let's do it. Okay, so let's talk about another feeling that comes up a lot when we talk about emotions,
Okay.
and that's
Dialogue.
stress.
Stress.
The English Pod 101 hosts, they mentioned that stressed out is like a super common phrase these days.
Oh, yeah.
Especially
Especially these days.
it's like everyone's juggling so much.
I know.
Work, family, social life.
Don't even get me started on the news.
Oh, yeah, the news is a whole other thing.
yeah.
But that feeling of just being overwhelmed and like stretched too thin,
Right.
that's exactly what stressed out means.
Okay, so you could say like, I'm feeling stressed out about work.
Yeah.
Or
Yep.
the kids have been driving me stressed out lately.
Exactly. And it's interesting how adding that out, it really kind of emphasizes the feeling. It's like saying, I'm stressed to the max.
Yeah.
Like, I can't handle one more thing.
Totally. Okay, so how about a word that describes that feeling of like anticipation, but also dread?
Oh, okay. I know what you mean.
Like you're nervous, but also kind of excited.
Yeah. Nerve-wracking.
Yes, nerve-wracking.
The English Pod 101 hosts, they use the perfect example, Hitchcock movies.
Oh, yeah.
Like, think about that iconic shower scene in Psycho.
Oh, my gosh.
Talk about nerve-wracking.
I get chills just thinking about it.
Right, but it doesn't have to be a horror movie. I
Right.
mean, job interviews, first dates, presentations.
All those things.
Those can all be nerve-wracking.
Totally, because it's like, something big is about to happen.
Yeah.
and you're just waiting for it.
Right. And it's that feeling of like your nerves are on high alert.
Yeah.
Like you're kind of both excited and terrified at the same time.
Exactly. Oh, speaking of feeling on edge,
Oh, on edge. Yeah.
that's another great phrase from the dialogue
Mm-hmm.
to describe someone who's like tense and irritable
Yeah.
and maybe even a little bit jumpy.
Right. It's like they're one step away from losing their temper.
Right. Like, remember the example from the English Pod 101 lesson about the person who just quit smoking?
Oh, yeah.
They're probably feeling pretty on edge.
For sure, as they're dealing with all those cravings and withdrawals.
Exactly. And it's interesting because we've got stressed out, nerve-wracking, and on edge.
Mm-hmm.
And they all kind of describe those,
Yeah.
uncomfortable feelings of tension and anxiety,
Right.
but with slightly different shades of meaning.
Exactly. It's like having a whole palette of words to really pinpoint exactly how you're feeling.
All right, so we've talked about some individual words that are really useful
Yeah.
for expressing emotions,
We have.
but idioms are a whole other ballgame.
They are.
They add so much color and personality to the language,
Yeah.
but they can be so tricky to understand.
I know, especially if you're not familiar with the cultural context.
Right. So let's revisit some of the idioms from the English Pod 101 dialogue,
Okay.
starting with lose your temper, which we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
Remember how the boyfriend was always losing his temper
Yes, over the smallest things.
over like nothing?
Yeah.
And then he would just brush off his girlfriend.
Right, when she tried to talk to him about it.
Exactly.
He's like basically saying, I don't care about your feelings or what you have to say.
Yeah, it's such a hurtful way to respond to someone.
It is, but sometimes I think people brush others off unintentionally.
You think so?
Maybe they're distracted or preoccupied.
Yeah, maybe they're just not in the right headspace. Right, exactly. It's not always malicious,
True.
but it's still important to be aware of,
Yeah,
how our actions affect other people.
definitely. Okay, so on a more positive note,
Okay.
let's talk about cheering someone up.
Yes.
Remember how the friend in the dialogue tried to cheer up her friend who was feeling down?
Yeah, that's what good friends do.
They do.
They listen, they offer support,
Right.
maybe share a funny meme or two,
Exactly.
just to try to lighten the mood.
Cheer up is all about making someone feel better,
Right.
whether it's through words of encouragement,
Yeah.
a thoughtful gesture, or just spending quality time together.
Yeah, sometimes just being present and listening without judgment can really make all the difference.
It can. It really can.
Now let's go back to that idiom, you're something else.
Oh, yeah. That one's a good one.
I know it's so versatile,
It is.
but it can be so tricky to interpret.
I know, because its meaning really depends on the tone and the context.
It really does. It's like a chameleon.
It is like a chameleon.
It can express admiration, disbelief,
Yeah.
sarcasm, even annoyance.
All of those things.
I know. So in the English Pod 101 dialogue,
Mm-hmm.
the friend used it playfully.
Yeah, with a sense of amazement.
Right. Like, wow, you
Yeah.
really pulled that off.
Yeah,
You're something else.
you're something else. But imagine if someone cuts you off in traffic
Oh, yeah.
and you yell, you're something else.
Totally different meaning.
Completely different meaning.
Yeah. So how can our listener figure out the true meaning?
Well, you have to pay attention to the speaker's tone of voice,
Mm-hmm.
their facial expressions, their body language, the whole situation.
It's all about reading between the lines.
It is. It is. And if you're still unsure,
Yeah.
don't be afraid to ask for clarification.
That's good advice.
You can say something like, wait, are you being serious? Or
Right.
what do you mean by that?
Yeah. It's always better to clarify
It is.
than to misinterpret something, especially when it comes to emotions.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've explored a bunch of
example.
vocabulary and idioms for expressing those more complex feelings, but the English Pod 101 dialogue also highlights some really useful phrases
okay.
for those tricky situations where things might get a little heated.
Uh-oh.
So let's dive into those. So remember how the English Pod 101 dialogue talked about the boyfriend? They said he was constantly getting upset.
Yeah, like he was always on edge.
Exactly, ready to blow up at any moment.
Yeah.
And that phrase, getting upset, it really emphasizes how often
Uh-huh.
and how intensely he was getting angry.
Right. It wasn't just a one-time thing,
No, it was a pattern of behavior.
which can be really draining for everyone involved.
Absolutely, especially for the person on the receiving end.
Exactly. And then there's the opposite reaction.
Oh, right.
Like shutting down.
Totally down.
The dialogue mentioned how the boyfriend would just shut down emotionally when his girlfriend tried to talk to him.
So he's just closing himself off.
Yeah, like refusing to engage in any kind of meaningful conversation.
Yeah, and that can be just as frustrating as the angry outbursts
Right.
because it leaves the other person feeling completely unheard.
Totally, like you're talking to a brick wall.
Exactly.
And it's interesting how both extremes,
Yeah.
getting upset and shutting down,
Uh-huh.
can be equally damaging to a relationship.
They can because they both create barriers to communication
Right.
and intimacy.
Which brings us back to that fascinating idiom, you're something else.
Oh, yeah, that one's so versatile.
I know it can convey so many different emotions.
It can. It really depends on how you say it.
Right, the context, the delivery.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It's a testament to the power of tone and nonverbal cues.
Yeah, remember in the English Pod 101 dialogue?
Yeah.
They used it in a playful way.
With a sense of amazement.
Right, like, wow, you really pulled that off, you're something else.
Yeah, but imagine someone cuts you off in traffic
Oh, yeah.
and you yell, "You're something else."
Big difference.
Huge difference. Not a compliment at all.
Not at all. So pay attention to the speaker's tone of voice,
Yes, tone is so important.
their facial expressions, their body language, the whole situation.
The whole 9 yards.
Exactly. It's like a linguistic puzzle.
It is.
But once you crack the code,
Yeah,
it unlocks a whole new level of understanding.
it does. It's so rewarding.
It is. I think we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
From simple words like down and grouchy
Mm-hmm.
to those more nuanced idioms like lose your temper and brush someone off.
Right.
We've explored so many different ways to express emotions in English.
And remember, fluency isn't just about knowing the words.
Right.
It's about knowing how to use them.
Exactly. So our challenge to you, dear listener,
Yes.
is to practice using these words and phrases in your everyday conversations.
That's the best way to learn.
Pay attention to how native speakers use them.
Mm-hmm.
Experiment with different tones and contexts.
Right.
And don't be afraid to make mistakes.
Mistakes are part of the learning process.
Exactly. That's how we learn and grow.
Embrace the journey.
Yeah. And you'll be amazed at how much your emotional fluency in English will blossom.
It will, for sure.
Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the fascinating world of expressing emotions in English.
It's been fun.
Until next time, keep those conversations flowing.